Okay guys, so now we're getting ready to start with one of my most favorite units that we teach in Virginia Studies this year, and we're going to start with the Revolutionary War. Before we can get started with the revolution itself, we need to figure out why the revolution happened, and in order to do that, we need to have a little bit of background. So, remember that Jamestown was founded when? Right, 1607. So people came across from England in 1607, 1620, in that time frame. Some still were trickling over now, but the majority of people had come way back 1607 time frame. Now we're looking at about 1770 to 1776, somewhere in that time frame. So it's been 170 years. So several generations of people have been born now in Virginia and in this country who had no ties to Great Britain at all, except for that this was a British colony. They had never lived in Britain. They didn't know the king. They weren't worried about anything going on in England. They were worried about what was going on here. So then there's this big war between England and the French. It became known as the French and Indian War. England won, but they were in a huge amount of debt when the war was over. And they needed to make money to pay off their debt, and that's very important. So, there's some discord that's happening between the colonies and England. First reason for the Revolutionary War are these conflicts that are growing between the colonies and Great Britain. First of all, they're conflicting about legal authority. Legal authority means who controls the rules and the government. British Parliament, over across the water in England, said, well, we do, us and the king, Parliament and the king, we're in charge, you're an English colony, so we have the right to impose any rules on you that we want to. It would be like me telling you, these are the rules you have to have in your house. I don't go to your house. I've never been to any of your houses. I don't know where you live. I mean, I could look it up and hack, but that's beyond the point. I don't go to your house. I don't tell you what to do in your house. My rules apply in the classroom, but not at your house. Those are your mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever you stay with, their rules. They're in charge there, not me. But England and Parliament was saying to the colonies, doesn't matter that we're over here and you're over there, we're still in charge. We have the power to impose any rules that we want on you. The colonies were like, nah, man, that's not okay with me. We believe that local government, local assemblies have the power to create the rules for their area. Meaning, like I said, your mom controls the rules, or your daddy, grandma, grandpa, adult who you stay with. They control the rules at their house. I control the rules in my classroom. Ms. Griffin controls the rules for the whole school. Dr. Gordon controls the rules for the District of Suffolk. There are different rules, different people who are in charge in different situations. And that's what the colonies are saying. Local government they're the people who have the authority, the legal authority to create these rules. So there's a conflict there. But then the bigger conflict is the right to tax. Now, taxes are, we pay them now. Sales tax on your car, things you buy at the store, property tax, your parents pay for, if they own their house, if they own their car, things like that. I pay taxes on the money that I make for my job, so do your parents. It's just part of life, okay? So this other conflict that's growing between the colonies and Great Britain is over the right to tax. Remember, there was that big French and Indian War, and England was in debt, and they needed to make money to pay off their debt. So they said, we're going to tax the colonists. And because Parliament said that they had the right to make the rules and the right to tax, yeah, they can do it. The colonies are like, no, you can't. You don't have the right to tax us. We don't even have any representation in the government. There's no one representing the colonies being our voice in the government. We have no say. You don't have the right to tax us. But the British government taxed them anyway. They had tea tax, stamp tax. There were a bunch of different taxes. In fact, those are two of the bigger ones. And they taxed these things that the colonists couldn't get anywhere else. So they were paying this extra money, which they didn't have a whole lot of, that was going to England to help pay for that French and Indian War. And these conflicts were creating this great divide between the colonies and Great Britain. And so the Declaration of Independence was written. Thomas Jefferson, who is a Virginian, wrote the Declaration of Independence, and they sent it off to Great Britain in 1776. And they said, the authority to govern belongs to the people, not to kings. And they said, all people are born equal. And they said, all people have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These things are very important. They're stated in the Declaration of Independence, which is what our whole country was founded on, and it was one of the reasons for the Revolutionary War. This declaration that was sent to the king is the thing that kind of started the whole revolution after these conflicts that continued to grow. So the Declaration of Independence was written by Thomas Jefferson, who is a famous Virginian. It says the authority to govern belongs to the people, not kings. It says all people are born and created equal, and it says everyone has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These things come into play as the Revolutionary War starts, which sets the colonies up after the Revolutionary War to become their own country, the United States. I hope this helps you as you continue in your Virginia studies this week.